Ever notice how some people talk about marriage the way others talk about buying a house?
They don't describe butterflies. They don't romanticize sparks or destiny. They talk about timing, stability, settling down, doing the right thing. While others chase love, intensity, and emotional fireworks, this group seems to want the structure first, the title, the commitment, the institution, even if love feels optional, negotiable, or something that can come later. It can sound cold, or practical, or even confusing. Why would someone want marriage without being driven by love? Is it fear, strategy, conditioning, or something much deeper happening under the surface? Because when psychology looks closely, this mindset isn't about being unromantic or broken. It's about how safety, identity, and meaning are wired into the human mind. And once those layers are uncovered, the preference for marriage over love starts to make a surprising amount of sense. There's one profile that often appears first. This person didn't grow up seeing love as reliable. Affection may have been inconsistent. Emotions unpredictable. Promises fragile. So the mind learns something early. Feelings change, but structures last. Marriage, in this case, represents certainty. Rules, roles, expectations. A socially recognized contract that doesn't depend on mood or emotional intensity. Psychologically, this is about security-seeking behavior. When emotional bonds feel unstable, the brain looks for external systems to compensate. Love feels risky. Marriage feels anchored. For this type, wanting marriage isn't about rejecting love. It's about not trusting it to stay. Maybe it's you, maybe someone you know. Then there's another group that surprises people. These individuals actually value love, but they don't believe it should be the foundation. They've seen passion burn hot and disappear. They've watched intense relationships collapse under real-life pressure. Bills, responsibilities, health, time. So they prioritize partnership over romance. From a psychological standpoint, this reflects a long-term orientation. The mind focuses on predictability, cooperation, and shared goals rather than emotional highs. Marriage becomes a framework for teamwork. Love is welcome, but not required to be intense, dramatic, or overwhelming. This group often says things like, love grows. Feelings change. What matters is commitment. Not because they are emotionally detached, but because they trust consistency more than chemistry. Then there's the identity-driven mindset. For some people, marriage is not just a relationship choice, it's a milestone of adulthood. They were raised in environments where marriage symbolized success, maturity, and social acceptance. Singlehood felt temporary. Marriage felt inevitable. So the desire isn't necessarily for a person, it's for a role. Psychology calls this identity fulfillment. The mind wants alignment between who it believes it should be and how life looks on the outside. Marriage completes the picture. Love, in contrast, feels unpredictable and personal, harder to control, harder to schedule. This group may say they're ready for marriage without mentioning who they want to marry. That's not emptiness. That's identity pressure, quietly steering desire. Then there's a more emotionally complex profile. These individuals want marriage precisely because it limits emotional exposure. Love requires vulnerability. It demands emotional risk, openness, and uncertainty. Marriage, as an institution, can feel safer. Clear boundaries, defined commitment, social reinforcement. Psychologically, this can reflect avoidant attachment tendencies. Not an inability to feel, but discomfort with emotional dependence. Marriage offers closeness with distance, togetherness with structure, intimacy with rules. Love feels messy. Marriage feels manageable. Here's the twist. This group may genuinely care deeply, but prefers relationships where emotions are contained rather than overwhelming. Another profile emerges from social reality rather than inner emotion. Some people want marriage because life is easier inside it. Social respect, family approval, legal benefits, shared resources. Psychology doesn't separate emotion from environment. The brain constantly evaluates survival and efficiency. For this group, marriage is a strategic alliance, a way to stabilize life in a complex world. Love is considered optional, nice to have, but not necessary for the arrangement to work. This doesn't mean they reject affection. It means they don't want affection to be the deciding factor. Practicality leads. Emotion follows, if it comes. What ties all these profiles together is not a lack of heart. It's a different relationship with uncertainty. Love is uncertain by nature. It fluctuates, evolves, sometimes fades. Marriage, culturally and psychologically, promises continuity. The human mind is deeply uncomfortable with instability. So when love feels volatile, the brain reaches for structure. And structure feels like safety. There's also a subtle misunderstanding that needs clearing. Wanting marriage over love does not mean someone doesn't want connection. It means they define connection differently. For some, connection is emotional intensity. For others, it's reliability. For others, shared routine. None are wrong. They are responses to experience. Ironically, many people who prioritize marriage over love end up developing deep affection later, precisely because the pressure for emotional performance is removed. Love grows when it isn't forced to prove itself. Psychology shows that emotional bonds can strengthen through shared effort, mutual respect, and time, not just attraction. Of course, problems arise when expectations are mismatched. When one partner seeks emotional depth while the other seeks structural stability, tension follows. Neither is wrong, but they are speaking different psychological languages. Understanding that difference is crucial. So what does it really mean when someone wants marriage, not love? It often means a desire for safety over intensity, stability over unpredictability, commitment over chemistry. It reflects life experience, cultural influence, attachment patterns, not coldness, not manipulation. Just a different answer to the same human question. How do I build a life that feels secure? Maybe this perspective feels familiar. Maybe it challenges assumptions. Maybe it explains someone who never made sense before. Which profile fits best? And how does that change the way relationships are viewed? If this exploration added clarity, reflection, or a new lens, staying connected keeps the conversation going. Because behind every relationship preference is a psychology worth understanding, not judging.